Health and wellness for your ball python is presented in part by Zilla, where reptiles rule.
How do we know our ball python is doing well?
If the snake is eating, that's the most important thing. If they go off food and they're not shedding the skin, then we worry a little bit. Usually you can consult someone with a lot of experience and they'll look at the snake and they might be able to see what's going on. The best thing to do is a simple physical exam. Again, nice thick spinal erector muscles, good tensile strength, he just doesn't hang limp. And we look at the cloaca, it's not swollen or red, and you can feel very gently all the way down the snake. Make sure there's no blockages, and there is none in this snake.
How about his eyes and his nose and his mouth?
A lot of times what we do, we make sure they have good reaction. We'll touch the tail and make sure it curls, which it does. And the same way with the head, we've already touched that. So he's hiding his head now. He's a little concerned because this is foreign to him to be handled like that. But you do need to examine them. Also, turn them over. If they get a pinkish or a reddish color all down the ventral scales, the belly scales, that's normal just before a shedding. It will absorb that back into the body, and the white color will come back again. But if you see a bright red spot or roughage or a dark spot, especially in an infection, then you have to address it. Ball pythons come from a savanna or a prairie area, so they want to be quite dry. They need water available, but they want to be dry all the time. If you keep them damp, the Pseudomonas bacteria in the mouth will come out. It'll go down the skin and it'll get under the scales and cause infections. Usually on the top of the body they show up as a gray or a black color, which is hard to see on this snake, but you can feel it. And when that gets down to the outer layer, into the endemic or into the inner layer, the blood picks it up, it becomes systemic. The animal is now sick and he will not eat, and then you need veterinarian care.
So I'm looking at this guy's head. What would be a sign of something irregular?
The main thing is you look and see if their posture is okay. If their posture is okay and they're holding the head even, not tilting it, and if the lips are sealed, and they are perfectly, then you know he doesn't have an infection in his mouth or he has no particles stuck in there. And also, you make sure the tongue is coming out and going back and forth. The heat sensors don't usually get infected, but it's always good to check it. And look at the two little nostrils. See, again, I put my finger in front and that worries him. And now he's tasting to make sure it's me. The two little nostrils should be clear. Sometimes they're plugged up and we have to do something about that. But you check the overall posture, make sure the animal is eating. He should be shiny. He should be nice and full and thick. And as you feel all the way down, it doesn't hurt him. Make sure there are no blockages. Later on, approximately here, you can take your fingertips, you can actually feel the heartbeat. And when you're handling, you'll feel it goes a little faster. And when the snake settles down, the heartbeat slows way down. And it's interesting to watch the heartbeat.
And if I sense that there's something not right with my snake, what do I do?
Well, talk to someone who's very experienced. If you don't have anyone very experienced, go to probably the largest pet shop or one that carries the most reptiles and ask them, who is a veterinarian that really has knowledge in this area concerning reptiles, or is there a local herpetological society I could consult? And then find the people there or find your veterinarian there, and then you feel real secure knowing your snake will always be cared for.
And what about breeding, Ron? I see everybody is into trying to breed ball pythons. Is it hard to do? And if your snake becomes pregnant, what do you need to worry about?
It's very simple to do. And in herpetology, they have a term called gravid. We replaced the term pregnant with gravid, but it means exactly the same thing. Without getting into it too deep, you'd want to consult an expert on breeding to get all the particulars. But basically, we make sure they get a good vitamin mineral supplement year-round so they're nice and thick and heavy. And if they are, when they form the 7, 8, or 9 large eggs, it pulls a lot of nutrients from the body into the eggs, and the animal can become very depleted in certain areas. We don't want that to happen. So conditioning is important. Experts can help you with the photo period or the amount of ultraviolet activity they need and how to reduce it, and maybe even a little bit of cool down. And what normally happens is they'll lay their eggs. You can hatch them out in the incubator. You can even do it in a room if you're very, very careful without an incubator. But dampness and temperature and all that, you need to consult someone who's very, very experienced. And it's really quite easy to do and it's very rewarding. But the key is they need some natural sunlight, and they have to have their conditioning by way of nutrients year-round so the animal doesn't get into trouble.
Good advice. And if you have a specific ball python question for Ron, just email him here at our website, ReptilesTV.com, by getting Ron at RonD@ReptilesTV.com. That's Ron D at ReptilesTV.com. Thanks. It's cool, buddy.
Health and wellness for your ball python is presented in part by Zilla, where reptiles rule.